my channel. My name is Mia and today's video is September wrap up. Yeah. Do you see all of this? You see how good I did? I did pretty good. So if I just on myself, I did really good this month. I did better than I expected to do or that I planned to do, because if you saw my TBR, you're gonna notice that there's a couple extras in this pile here, so yeah. Anyways, let's get right into this video because we don't want it to be, you know, forever long, which I can easily do that. If you follow me, you know what I mean. Anyways, first book on my pile. This is by no means the first book I read in the month. They're just mixed. I don't know, they're not in any order. This is just the first one I happen to grab onto right now, and this is The Last Colony by Scalzi, and whoa, loved it. Loved this book. 5 out of 5 stars. I honestly loved the entire trilogy. This is the last book of the trilogy. I mean, this book series was meant to be a trilogy originally. However, there has been more books written, and the author did also say that he may come back into this world and continue in the future, which I believe he did, because there's another 3 books, I think, based on this storyline. So yeah, but it was so good. Oh my gosh, if you don't know anything about this book, this is the 3rd book of the Old Man's War. The 1st book was based about an army that basically an intergalactic army, so our human army on space was based off elder humans that had retired here on Earth and had enlisted into the army. Of course, there were some alterations made that allowed them to physically be warriors, and they do have the option to retire after a few years of service. However, they are never allowed to come back to Earth. An amazing thing happens on this book, which of course I'm not gonna tell because I don't kiss and tell, I don't read and tell. And the feelings that this book gave me, I was so frustrated with humankind on this book. I was like, oh, you human! Because we ruin everything. We ruin everything. That's humanity for you. Bunch of ruin everything people. Anyways, the book was great. You have to get into this series if you're into, you know, the sci-fi kind of reading, and you have to, because it was great. There you go, first book, read it. Now get into the whole series. The next book I have here is Homeland. This book is the first book of the Dark Elf trilogy. This is from the Forgotten Realms, and it is amazing. Amazing. This book was recommended to me by a friend of mine. He was just like, yo, I didn't know you were into fantasy. I was like, what? You don't know me very well, obviously. So he was like, I got a set of books that I love. They're my favorite fantasy books. Do you want to read it? I'm like, yo, hello, yeah. So he was kind enough to go through his house, and he searched in his garage, and he found them, and he let me borrow them. And I love him for that. So thank you, Sol. You're the best. But I read the first book already, and it was amazing. Amazing. This was the last book I read this month, and loved the world. It is a all dark, all white world. There is no gray area, so you're either evil or you're good. However, the story follows Drist Duorden. Drist Duorden is a dark elf. So by nature, he should be evil. He should be bad. He should be, you know. But he's not. He's not at all. He's a great warrior. He's a fantastic warrior. He can kick ass, man. But he is such a kind soul inside. He is. He's a good person. But you can't tell because he's got, you know, the dark elf features. So what is he to do? Where could he, you know, fit in this magical world? So that's what you kind of, in this book you're just starting. So you're just starting, you're just getting to know him. I'm assuming on the next books you find out what he's actually gonna do and stuff. But it was great, it was fantastic. This is by R.A. Salvatore, and go read it right this minute. If you're into fantasy, that is. If you're not, then it may not be your thing, but it's amazing. 5 out of 5 stars. Did I mention I gave 5 out of 5 stars to the other book as well? 5 out of 5. 5 out of 5. No, just kidding. Anyways, Next book. This one here is in Spanish, but they do have it in English. This is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. It's a classic book. It took me forever to read it. It took me like a whole month to read it. It was just a very slow-paced book. Very slow pace, but I can definitely see why it's a classic. I respect the writer, you know, like, for writing this. He did a great job because it's a very intricate story. It's very well written. It's a very unique, of course he created, I believe, this writing style, and it's great. The only thing is a very repetitive story. It requires a lot of patience to really read it and to really like it a lot. I gave it 3 stars because I didn't like the story a lot because it was so repetitive. And it was confusing at times. I had to dedicate a lot of time onto reading this, keep track of who was the father of who slept with who. It was kind of confusing. I'm very glad I read it and proud of reading it. I could definitely appreciate the writer for what he did. I appreciate the book for what it was, but the storyline didn't necessarily grasp me. It didn't, you know, make me want to pick it up and read more. It was kind of, I had to force myself to read it because it was so repetitive. It was just, you know, so many years of war and stuff like that, but it was still interesting. The writing style was definitely interesting. It jumped from, you know, historical facts to complete craziness and unrealistic events. And he also went back in time, like, you know, he spoke of like past events, future events, present events, all over the place, no specific order. The points of view of the characters also changed often within the paragraph without a clear explanation. So I don't know how to explain it. I may do a book review of this book like more in detail because it's such an elaborated book. It was a very thought through book. It was not, he took a long time to write this book, and it shows. So I think everyone should read it once in their lifetime at least, but it was just, don't expect it to be a fast, easy read. It's not going to be. It's going to be a slower pace, difficult. You have to learn to love it, okay? That's all I'm saying. Next book did though. This book, whoa, I loved it. I love this book. I want the next book now, like yesterday. This book was so good. I loved it. Like, I've seen so many mixed reviews about this book, and some people don't like it, mostly because she doesn't want to take advantage of her powers, but I loved it, and I'm getting ahead of myself. By the way, this is Shatter Me. Hello! And this is by, I can't pronounce the name, so you're gonna have to read it. But this was so good! This is about a girl who has this power where if she touches you, she can potentially kill you. And, you know, it follows her journey. And I thought it was fantastic. There is a love triangle in here. I loved all the characters. That was the biggest thing for me. I actually connected to all the characters. I really loved all the characters, and part of that love triangle had me thinking after I finished the book about it because I thought it was so good. I thought the writer did a great job involving, because most of the time you think about love triangle and you're like, oh, really? But this time I really did like all the characters, all of them. Love this book. So I'm going to definitely read the next one because it was great. 5 out of 5 stars. Yep, you should read it. Then I have here Asylum by Madeleine Roux, and if there was I gave it 2 out of 5 stars because it was disappointing. So much potential. I mean, are you looking at the cover of this book? It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Haunted asylum that all of a sudden is a dorm room for college students, and these high school kids are gonna stay there under this program, you know, to, you know, get some extra credits or whatever you call it, and weird things are gonna happen. Oh my god, this is gonna be fantastic. And then you read the book and you're like, really? You could not be less imaginative. I don't know, it was a classic haunted asylum. That's all I can say. It was just not very interesting in my opinion. It was a letdown. I did enjoy the read overall. I mean, it was a fast read, but there was a lot of moments where I was just like, yeah, the eye rolling was just going deep with this book. I thought it was very much based on the next books. It was one of those books where they don't really put much thought into the first one. They just have all these kind of like ideas thrown in there, but everything is meant just for you to continue. And I don't know why some writers do that, because if you don't grab me with the first book, if I'm not in love with the first book, I'm not gonna be excited about reading the next book. It's not going to motivate me to read the next book, because you leave everything without answers doesn't necessarily mean I care to find the answers, you know? Anyway, I don't know if I'll read the next book at the moment. I don't think so. But if you have read the next book of Asylum, I think it's called Sanctum, whatever. If you read it, let me know what you think about it, and if you convince me to read it, I may. But as of right now, I don't think I will, because this was a letdown. Such a cool picture too. It's got like full of cool pictures, and then the storyline was just flat. Like, I couldn't connect to any of the characters. There was like no character development. Like, they tell you all this background of some character, of all the characters or most of the characters, but it doesn't lead to anything. It doesn't go anywhere from there, you know? Like, it's just like, okay, why did I need to learn all of this about this person if you're not even going to conclude any of the like, what was this even important on the story? I don't get it. Don't waste my time. Anyway, that was a little rant for you. Moving on. Then I have here Sold by Patricia McCormick. I love this book, loved it. I have a review on this book. I'll link it down below if you're interested in checking it out. Amazing, 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 amazing. Definitely an eye-opener. It's about a young girl, I'm talking about like 12 years old, who ends up getting sold as a sex slave, and it's her journey through all of this. Very good, very good, very good. I loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. You have to read it because it's a great big eye-opener, and it inspired me to educate myself more on the topic and to try and do something about it. So anyways, this is the 3rd book of the Grey Griffins trilogy. However, there are 3 more books that are Grey Griffins something different. Like, it's the connection of this book, basically, like the continuation of these first 3 books, but they are kind of different. That makes sense. Anyways, this was good. It was an enjoyable read. I give it 3, I believe, or 3.5 out of 5 stars, because it was good. It was good. It was an enjoyable read. It didn't blow me away, but I did enjoy it overall. I did. It was a good story. It's about a bunch of kids, their friends, there's magic involved, adventure involved, betrayal. Anyways, they follow the Templar, and this is by Derek Benz and J.S. Lewis. It was really fun. It's something that if I had kids, I would definitely have them read it, because I think they would probably enjoy it even more. The next book is Eve and Adam. Do have a review for this. I'll also link it down below. This is by Michael Grant and Catherine Applegate, and it was a little bit of a disappointment. It was not what I expected. I had such high, I think I'm just giving myself too much of like very, very high expectations for books, and then I'm letting myself get down when I'm reading. It's not exactly what I expected, but it was okay. It was an okay story. It was not necessarily that okay. Yeah, it kind of sucked, okay? It kind of sucked a little. I give it 2 stars, and I could have given less. I don't know. It was not good. The characters were horrible. They were so unrealistic. Like, as you read it, it was just, I have so many feels about this book, and they're not very positive. I don't know. It was just a letdown. Such a big letdown. The storyline was pretty okay at the beginning, and it had you kind of like a little bit intrigued on what's gonna happen, although some of the characters, actually all the characters, were just like horrible. I'm sorry. I am so sorry if you read this and you like this, but I thought the characters were so horrible because I couldn't even imagine them as actual real characters. They seemed to me like, you know, like figure sticks. And Adam, really? Oh my god, I'm sorry. Moving on, 2 out of 5 stars, not the best book I've read. Then, this is gonna change my mood entirely. My mood is so much better now. Oh, because this is amazing. This is amazing. This is Saga 5, and I read it in seriously like 20 minutes. It was so good. So good. This is by far, at least right now, this is my most favorite comic ever. Because it's awesome. It is awesome. It's an adult story, so definitely not up for young kids. No, do not read this, young kids. Don't do it. But for adults like me, because yes, I am an adult. I have to convince myself of it sometimes, but I really am. This was so good. Oh my god. Every book has been like, bam, 5 out of 5 stars. Bam, 5 out of 5 stars. Oh my god. The goodness continues, and I hope it goes on forever and ever because it must go on. I don't know, so good, so good. You have to read it. You have to read it, read it, read it, read it. So good. Amazing, amazing. I don't even know what to say about it because it's so amazing. I can't tell you anything without spoiling. There's not a damn thing I can say about this without spoiling the whole series for you, but I'll just tell you what the entire thing is basically about from the entire series, okay? Planet and his moon at war don't like each other. Soldier from the moon and from the planet fall in love, have a baby. What? Then they have to run and hide because the whole world is after them. Because who does that? I mean, this two, you know, the planet and the moon are like archy enemies, like they can't even, they hate each other, they kill each other all the time. So loving each other, what? No, not allowed. So the story is told by the baby. So the baby is the I cannot say that word. You know what I mean, she tells the story, whatever you call that word. Awesome, read it, read it, read it. On that note, I am out. I love you. Mwah. I'll see you very soon. Bye.